Dude, I have one plant, and I love that fucking thing. Dude.
Love it.
I love him.
Weird thing. I love I love our plants.
I love our plants. Like we call him the plant boy.
Your plant is called the plant boy?
Yeah. Yes. And he'll literally text me, "Did you feed the plant boy?" And I'll say yes. And then we'll be sitting on the couch, and I'll look at him, and I'll go, "Dude, look at that boy. He's a good boy, that plant boy." Welcome back to Oops the Podcast.
All right, lots to unpack here.
I got something for you.
Please. Julio, I don't know where you came up with that idea.
Dude, this guy was a huge turkey.
What is this, Japan? Which is one of the reasons why I hadn't told you about it.
No, and I also just assumed you were saving it for the pod if you were going to tell me.
Yeah.
Which, of course, you were.
Oh, yeah. We're back. Oops, the podcast here. I'm Francis. He's Julio.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about India.
Oh, we are.
And how we would probably do well over there.
Yeah. We've heard
financially.
That there's you can afford a really fancy lifestyle for not that much money.
That's right. I'm told, as I was just saying to you, that people of middle class means typically have tremendous support staffs. 4 to 5, if not 7 full-time staff people who just work at their house, at their home for them for small fees.
Yeah.
And that, because I have a friend who, her family's from India, but she grew up in America, and that when her grandparents come over here, they give her grandparents give them crap for not having chefs.
Wow, I love that.
They think they're just being, cheap.
Dude, it's so bougie.
It's like, I'm not sure if you're aware, but a chef here is a lot more expensive than a chef, I'm assuming, in India. They grew up in Calcutta.
Nice.
But dude, I was thinking about that. It's like, all right, well, could we move there?
To India? Yeah, like we maybe could, dude. There's a big comedy scene there too.
Yeah. What would we do there? What could we do? I don't know much about acquiring citizenship, and maybe it wouldn't even matter. Would we just be able to recycle visas from now until we die?
Maybe like they'd be receptive to us coming and attempting to continue what we're doing. That might be giving ourselves too much
I think
credit.
that's a little white privy.
No, I don't mean white privy. I mean like, these like entertainers wanting to relocate to India.
Could we get a genius? You think we could get a genius visa?
Maybe.
An alien of extraordinary ability?
Perhaps.
Do you think we possess extraordinary ability?
It depends where we're going.
Do you think that ability translates over there the same way that money does, where like less ability means a lot more over there?
I just think the specifics of our ability is the interesting point.
Our ability is worth 10 times over there what it is over here?
No, this reverse commute of ability. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even that we're that able. It's that we are so unique for wanting to take on such a thing and setting this example that makes maybe them look good. Like, look, people are moving to India to live a better life.
Right. Yeah, that's
we can make us poster children.
That's a pretty good point. We could be the Lewis and Clark of India, of American ability in India. We could be that.
Dude, it's like in the Korean War, they used to like try to tempt American soldiers to defect to North Korea, and they would kind of like show all this propaganda and stuff, and it worked. There's a great documentary. I need to figure out what it's called, but it's about these people who defected, American soldiers who defected and became North Koreans. Did we talk about this before?
No, we haven't, but I can hear Ryan's fingers flying across the keyboard, which makes me think we're going to have an answer at the end of the episode.
But dude, listen how interesting this arc is. So they defect. And now they live in North Korea, and they're like, oh man, we maybe bit off a little more than we can chew here. People don't really like us. This is kind of weird. So what ends up happening, Kim Jong-il, the son of Kim Il-sung and father of Kim Jong-un, they commissioned him to make like a 30-part dramatized version of the history of North Korea. And they needed American people to play the bad guys in these movies.
Wow.
So they cast these are the only guys they had. They cast all of them and they all became mega celebrities.
Oh my God.
And then were elevated to like the highest status in the country and lived there, raised families. Like there's a whole thing about it. It's amazing.
That's terrific.
It's really interesting.
That is terrific.
And hearing the guys' sons look like you and they have a Korean accent. It shows them learning English. and it's fucking insane. Like I've never. Yeah, dude, I would do an impression of it, but I would get canceled.
Are you saying that the American soldiers who defected, their sons looked like me?
Correct.
Did they have North Korean wives?
I forget. Like the guys might be half, or I think the one guy had a son with. He brought his wife. I don't remember the specifics, but they look like you. They might be half Asian. They might not be. I don't fully remember.
I don't know too many half Asians that look like me, but that's okay.
But dude, you'll see. They don't look exactly like you. But my point is, they don't look Asian at all, and they're struggling to like speak with a non-Korean accent.
That's interesting.
English.
That is interesting. Now, let me ask you this, right? We obviously look poorly upon people who defect from our armed services to the countries we're fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one thing to defect and immediately start drawing up the blueprints for how to, create some sort of anti-aircraft missile that would take down American planes and sell secrets to the enemy.
Right.
But if you're just defecting to become a movie star in like low budget Korean propaganda films, can you really blame those people? Like I feel like that's not so bad.
The guy sort of makes that point. The main guy is kind of like, dude, I'm a loser at home, and here I'm the man. Like this is great. He goes, and he starts being like, I love the great leader. Dude, it's crazy.
Okay, so he really drank the Kool-Aid.
He eventually started to really drink that Kool-Aid.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how much I feel negatively about him doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You hear stories about sometimes these. Oh man, there was a guy who I think went to the jungles of Brazil. There was, Ford, the guy who founded Ford.
Henry
Ford was, in the 1927, he wanted to own the means of production completely for his cars. Obviously, the Model T was the most purchased car on Earth. And then I think they started making the Model A after that. And rubber tires were a major hurdle for them because there was no rubber in America. You can't grow rubber in America. It grows on trees. And it needs a very jungle kind of tropical climate. And so they were sourcing their rubber from Brazil, but I'm pretty sure the government of Brazil was constantly experiencing revolutions, and it was very hard to seal the deal and have a consistent supply of rubber.
Rubber over there, baby.
And so he bought up, I think, thousands of acres of jungle in Brazil, and then tried to build a town there of Americans that was supposed to be sort of like this Pleasantville type model town.
Wow.
That he would send American workers over there with their families, build schools, and they would live there and they would produce and then ship rubber back to America. Of course, it failed spectacularly for a couple of reasons. One being they had no sense of sort of how to actually grow the trees. And by chopping some down and not planting them correctly, they immediately introduced a ton of parasitic species, invasive species that destroyed everything.
No way. Wait, so just by chopping down trees?
Them. Yeah, because it had something to do with like the trees. They needed to be close together in order to the shade. What was preventing these invasive species from growing. And as soon as they started chopping trees down and planting them too far apart, the sunlight actually, I think that's correct, something like that. And I might be mixing stories here, but I think there was a guy who was sort of like the leader of the whole town, and he just like walked off the reservation one day and fell in. Oh no, I am mixing stories. This is a slightly different
story. These are two
but,
stories combined. Yeah, I love that.
Same ilk. There was a guy who had made a flight from America down to South America, and it was the first trans South American flight. Because they'd conquered the trans-European flight.
So the European flight was first.
Lindbergh did that.
And that was before anyone tried to fly to South America.
Yeah, and I think it's farther to South America. I think you cross more water. I could be wrong about that.
To get to like
Brazil.
Okay. It could be.
I don't know.
It could be to like touch to arrive overland.
Tip to tip.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's a long way. So no one had done that. In fact, a few people crossed the Atlantic to Europe before anyone thought to even try to cross to South America. But one guy did it, or he tried and disappeared. But nobody really knew what had happened to him. And then these rumors abounded that someone had actually spotted him crossing land in South America. And so he'd made it, but then had crash landed in some trees or something like that. And a tribe of South American, I think, indigenous peoples had seen this guy fall from the sky, and they plucked him out of the tree and treated him as a god.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he totally embraced it. And he wasn't seen or heard of for years and years and years and years. And then someone went, like multiple expeditions went looking for him because the lore had grown.
Oh my God.
And allegedly someone, thought they had run into him one day on like the side of the road. They saw a white guy down there. This was a time when there were very few white people down there. And they saw him. He had a big beard and he was, just sitting around chilling. They asked him if he was that guy. I think he said he was. And then I can't remember the rest of it. I don't know. The point is there a part of the world where we could go
to make that happen,
where we could become gods or movie stars? And would we do it? I think absolutely. I would, certainly.
I'm potentially open to it.
Seems a lot easier than trying to make it here.
Market's
way too saturated.
I'm open to it. I'm actually open to it. I think about this.
The problem is, Julio, that if we go somewhere that foreign,
foreign?
Where they're like immediately ready to cast us as the leads in their massive budget, state-funded movie production.
Is that what we're saying is the case though? It's that big of a trade-off in like lifestyle?
Well, I think that the likelihood that a place that foreign, I don't know, ends up killing us or eating us, right? There aren't that many untouched parts of the earth left.
Okay, but I feel like there's a compromise to be made. Like, what if it's a place that has a good governance and freedom of speech and then they still want to cast you?
They'd probably Google us and be like, oh, these guys weren't even shit back home. Like, we can do better.
Okay, that could happen.
Let's wait for Chris Hemsworth to row his boat onto our shores, and then we'll force him to do some movies for us.
What if somehow you and I show up? I love that we're in this together in this story now.
Yeah, we are.
We show up together.
Little boys trip. Little boys trip gone wrong.
And somehow one of us charms them so incredibly that they've decided that they need that particular one of us. And then that one of us that they need, let's say it's you.
Why is it only one of us?
Well, because maybe it's both, but maybe it's just one. But you are so impressive to them that you bring me along. You're like, this guy is the guy. And they're like, hey, whatever you say.
Yeah. Package deal. Stand by my boy.
And then we convince our girls. I don't know how much convincing it would take for Hill Dog. I think she'd be open to a change.
I don't even know if we can, to be honest with you, I'm not sure we can get a line home. I don't know if they can hear from us.
Oh no. So then we have to leave them behind.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh God, I can't do that. I can't just go dark on my entire life.
You're telling me
But I hear you that in this story that's what happens.
What if we have to make one movie and that'll set us free?
And then it just takes too long to make a movie. I feel like a month is enough time to completely change the trajectory of your life. Like if you're missing for a month, that's enough time for our girls to move on, dude.
What?
I believe so.
1 month?
We're pronounced dead at that point. They've had to move on with their lives, and perhaps.
Yeah, but they're not that quick to give in. They're not that quick to give up. You're telling me 1 month in, Sierra's downloading Hinge?
I think maybe, dude.
Taking the fucking pawned the engagement ring?
I feel like she's a pragmatic person. I feel like she'd be like, I love Fran, but I need to move on.
I don't know. Our wedding is in 1 month. I mean, you're telling me you and I are taking a boys' trip to Texas. We cross accidentally through the Bermuda Triangle, which spits us out in totally the wrong direction.
In 1925.
We end up in Papua New Guinea. among a herd of, fucking cannibals. And they're like, perfect. We've been looking for someone to play the alien gods in our movie that we're making. And we're over there, can't get a line home. We shoot this movie. We become heroes. And they're paying us in conch shell necklaces and all this kind of shit. And the girls back home have no idea where we are. And before our wedding date is even here, Sierra is off on dates with other guys.
I think after a month goes by, maybe not specifically, but dude, I think that it's possible.
Damn.
I think it's possible. I told Hillary that if I die, I'd appreciate it if she put a photo of me in her home with her new husband.
Wow. That is a tough demand. And it was such a macabre thing to ask.
I'd like to be remembered for as long as possible.
Just want real estate in their relationship.
I would like to have my own little shrine, and I'd like to be remembered. I've told her that.
You're an asshole. That's an asshole thing.
I want her to move on, but I'd like to be commemorated.
I think maybe the better way is every year on your birthday, they light a candle for you.
I guess that's decent. But I'd prefer the
then
picture.
It's not just. Then he's not looking at it as he's,
I would like him to know that he wouldn't be here if I didn't die.
Wow. Wow.
I'd like him to remember that.
You know what you should do? You should give her the photo.
Which photo do you
You should get a photo of you and frame it. Make it huge. Just like one of you like giving the thumbs up, or I don't even know what it is. A really sexy, maybe a headshot. Just one that like hang it right over the bed and you'd be like, as long as you are alive,
this hangs here.
This needs to hang over your bed. I am the overlord.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it is crazy to think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Leaving people behind, them having to go on with their lives.
Oh, golly. Oh, golly, gee.
It's freaky.
Yeah.
It's a little freaky, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you were...
How was Boston?
Oh, man. It was really great, man. It was really, really good.
You guys drove up there?
Drove up there, did the show.
Good show?
Great show. Really, really great show, man. What a nice group. Thank you, everybody who came. That was one of the most fun I've ever had.
Awesome.
Doing comedy.
Hell yeah.
It was great, and just felt, when the time is sort of like flying by because you're just like in the zone type of thing. It felt like that a little bit.
That's nice.
It did feel like a triumph. Everybody else on the show did very well, which was great.
Yeah, you brought a good team.
Brought a good little team.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah, it was very solid. I had fun, man. Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
It was good. It was a late night, but
oh wow,
worth it.
Did you come home after the show?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
No, I know. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
You drove home.
Yeah.
You guys stayed there for a while and then drove home
for like an hour and chill. Like met everybody. There was some. Nice to see the people who we saw when we did the Oop show too. And especially people who we had like a late night with. One couple in particular, I was like, we had a late night last time. They're like, oh God, we were hoping you wouldn't remember that.
I can't even really remember what we did after those Boston shows. Where did we go?
We went to this like random bar that was like, it was as if they'd never have people walk in the door at 12:15 in the evening.
Did we?
Yeah, we went to a bar, had a bunch of drinks, and then tried to find another bar and sort of like decided that wasn't worth it. And then we.
Oh! I remember. I do remember now. Yep, I remember. Okay,
yeah.
That was cool. That was fun.
It was, man.
So you guys, and then you drove home. What time did you get home?
3:30.
Jesus. For the record, we're recording kind of early in the morning today. This is rare for us. It's 10:30. And man, I appreciate your resilience.
Dude,
that's
yeah.
Impressive.
No doubt, dude. I mean, it's such a blessing to have to have to slam the schedule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't take it for granted.
That's great, dude.
So,
that's
times,
great.
Good times. How was your weekend? You guys were down there, right?
Yes, down in DC. I went down to Arlington, Virginia. Man, I'll tell you something. There's such a strange kind of confluence of states in that area of the world.
I know.
It's like all the rivers of Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. meet in this one kind of smorgasbord of statehoods. And weirdly, they all have very strong identities.
Right.
Maryland has such an identity, such pride. There's so much Maryland pride.
There's an accent too. There's this mid-Atlantic accent.
Yeah.
It's like home.
Yeah,
or something.
the Baltimore
Yeah, it's like a thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you know, I grew up in the lacrosse world, and there was such a lax bro thing from the Maryland area.
Totally.
Of, you know, flip-flop sandals and khaki Vineyard Vine shorts, and then a golf polo. And it was like this fucking costume that all these guys wore. And I didn't know if it had been phased out. And I cannot tell you how many guys at my shows were wearing exactly that.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
It has not changed. It's sort of the backyard dad barbecue tailgate, you know, fucking order of business. And so there's the Maryland thing, there's the DC thing, there's the Virginia thing, and they're all there together. And shows were great.
Amazing.
Really good crowds. I like that club a lot, the Arlington Draft House. I didn't go out after any of the shows.
So I noticed that you were with Sierra.
So Sierra came down with me. We drove down on Friday, which is a lovely drive, by the way.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Because we went through Delaware
Mm-hmm.
and then across the Chesapeake.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some lovely waterways.
Totally, man.
I flipped on the auto drive on the Tesla so that I could just look off the bridge.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, when you are driving past people on a bridge on a highway and they look over and see that you are not keeping your eyes on the road, it is troubling to them.
You have your head like in your hands,
Completely
laying back.
sideways. Yeah, just
That's
looking
great.
backwards,
Whoa.
looking around. Wow, look at all this water. But I loved that. And then we got, she has a one of her closest friends lives in Annapolis,
Oh, cool.
home to the Naval Academy,
Yes.
which is a lovely place to live. My God.
I don't think I've ever been.
It's really nice. There's such a water community there. Everyone has a boat or a jet ski. You know,
Mhm.
they all go out on the boat. They all tube.
Mm.
They pick crabs. They set their own crab traps.
Oh, dude,
Maryland
I used to
crab.
do that. I used to catch crabs.
Really?
Yeah, my dad
I
was
bet
really
you
into
did.
it.
Dirty boy. You dirty captive of local tribes making movies.
Dude, it was fun. We'd set up little traps, and then we would catch them, and then we'd make this like amazing sauce with them, like crab sauce.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where did you, in Connecticut?
In Connecticut, yeah. I mean, it's not like the soft shell crabs of, you know, the mid-Atlantic region, but they're like blue crabs, and they're delicious.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sierra was telling me about it and it sounded really fun. You know, dipping them in butter sauce and then sprinkling some Old Bay on there.
Mm.
Boy, oh boy, did that sound good. I was sad to have missed it.
Is the Citadel in Annapolis?
I don't know that it is. I don't think it is.
So the Naval Academy is there?
Naval Academy's
Okay.
there.
And
So it's a, you know, got to be one of the safest places to live in America, right? There's just military outposts everywhere. And then, you know, that was really cool. So she stayed there. I went and saw my sister,
Okay.
who lives in the suburbs of DC,
Where?
Chevy Chase.
Okay, yeah, Maryland, right?
Yeah, and stayed with them. They just moved down there not too long ago, and you know, really cool to see the home they are building and have built and are just kind of working on and their lives there, and catch up with them and see my niece. Loved that.
Nice.
And was just super comfortable, and then went and did the shows, and then drove back to their house, spent all of Saturday with them, went and did the shows again, and then came back and crashed at their house. And it was like a totally different road weekend for me. It was
That's nice.
a visit to my sister and her family that I just happened to have comedy shows at night with.
That's great. Yeah.
And then yesterday we drove home, which took quite a long time because the traffic was pretty bad.
Mm.
And it was 102 degrees. That's what it
Yeah.
read on the
Damn.
car temperature gauge.
Yeah.
102.
It's hot. It's
Does that
hot.
not scare you?
I don't know, not really. The European heat wave scared me a little bit because of how unusual it is. But I feel like every time late July comes around, people act like it isn't, like it's unusual that it's hot. I'm
Bro,
like,
102?
102 is hot, but it's also like the car thing, which means it wasn't actually 102.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's like it measures it in a different way. Like it'll be hotter because it's like the sun beating down directly on the road and the tires measuring the heat or something. I have no fucking idea how it works, but it doesn't reflect the actual temperature.
I feel bad for the tires of the car. Because I know that if I were walking along that highway in bare feet, I'd be like,
oh yeah, big time.
You know? It's like crossing a hot beach times 100. And the car is just on that hot beach for 250 miles.
Yeah, it's hot, dude. That's fucking hot.
It's crazy.
Dude, I always used to hate playing tennis against those teams, against like West Point or against wherever, because they would always beat us. They were always such gracious, fair.
Yeah, they're ambassadors.
They're just ambassadors of the fucking world. Like, they're the most incredible people I've ever met. And they're just so superior in every facet of life, including tennis. And it was a tough pill to swallow, getting smoked by those guys. And they look you in the eye and tell you it was a great match at the end.
Well, you know what? You know how you get back at them is you say something like, good luck. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm going to sell all your tennis secrets to the North Koreans. They'll learn how to beat you. No, you get back at them during the match. You shit talk by saying, yeah, enjoy your 5 years of mandatory service that you signed up for. Wonder how you feel about that choice now, you bum. Good luck making a government military salary while I'm off making more than that, probably.
In India.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dude, that's funny. But that's great, man. Yeah, I love the idea of, I've tried to be good about that as I've been kind of, bopping around a little bit doing comedy, trying to really utilize the time with the people who I know, with whoever I know the best who lives in the area. Spending time with them, going to do stuff, catching up with people, changing the routine. It's a nice thing.
Totes. It's great.
Totes.
Some good people in all parts of the world. We had some really cool. Let me tell you something, by the way. So, I go out into the crowd a little bit after the show. I say hi to some people, and everyone says, big fan of the podcast, which is really nice to hear. Mm-hmm. And then they always tell me how much they love you. And then they were really telling me how much they loved your Netflix special.
So nice. That's really nice.
They're like, Julio just killed it on that Netflix
That's
thing.
so nice of them, man. Tell them I appreciate it, guys. Whoever said that.
Yeah.
Since you're allegedly fans of the pod, hopefully you will hear this.
We had some awesome fan who invited me. I've been getting these golf invites a lot.
Amazing.
And I was very torn. Because I got this amazing golf invite to play the Army-Navy course.
Wow.
Which is a sick private.
Wow. It's in Annapolis?
Yeah. I don't know if it's in Annapolis. It's around there though.
Okay.
It's in Arlington.
Okay.
It's in Arlington. It's very close to the club. And really, really amazing course. You have to have been a member of the armed services to be a member there. And I've always wanted to play it. I got the invite, but I felt like I had to, I was really there to spend time with my sister and our family. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like I made the right call because I wanted to really spend time with my niece and stuff.
Yeah.
But boy, turning down a round of golf like that is just cuts my dick off.
It's got to be tough.
Here's something that happened. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
This was tough. During the show, I think it was the first show or maybe the second show, I was telling a joke, one of my jokes, my favorite joke that I tell.
By the way, I love that I got a full scouting report. People love to report when wrongs are delivered to Francis, or I'm sure vice versa. Someone was like, "You'll never believe what happened tonight." So I got a full scouting report of the story beforehand, which I thought was a fun thing to add.
I'll tell it to the crowd anyway at home.
No. I
get it. You've already heard it. You don't really want to hear it again.
No,
okay?
I haven't.
This is old news for Julia.
I haven't heard your side of the story yet. I've only heard what was reported.
Like a guy gets one role in a North Korean movie. All of a sudden, he doesn't need to hear stuff on the podcast firsthand. It's like, okay, buddy, good luck getting home, you know.
All right, continue.
All right. Fucking JFK PT 109 stranded on an island with his, coconut shell.
Mayday, mayday.
Do you know the story, by the way, of JFK?
No.
Do people know what he did?
No.
JFK was a proper war hero.
Really?
Yeah.
I do not know the story at all.
Like, beyond belief hero.
I had no idea.
Okay, so here, let me tell this first, because it bears mentioning in light of what we've talked about. So,
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, the son of Joe Kennedy, who was a little controversial, but John F. Kennedy. So he was, in the Pacific during World War II, and he was, I think he was the commander of a PT 109 boat, which were sort of these smaller gunships that were pretty maneuverable. Like, you could have tubed behind one. You probably could have tubed or wake surfed or water skied behind one. So, they're going through these small islands in the Pacific, and I think they got shelled by another boat, or they got torpedoed by a submarine, or they might have even actually rammed another boat.
Okay.
And I think he made the decision to do that. The point is, their boat sank.
So John F. Kennedy's boat sank.
Yeah, their boat sank, and a bunch of guys got injured. He was injured. I think he had, no, he was. I don't know if he was injured that much yet, but there was a guy on his boat who was injured and couldn't swim. So John F. Kennedy tied life jackets around him and created sort of a flotilla for him. Put the straps of the life jacket in his teeth, and then swam. The whole crew swam ashore, and he was like pulling people.
Oh my God.
Pulling a guy, and they had to swim a long way. Like, they were a long way from the nearest island.
That's insane.
And then at night, they were stranded on this beach, and he knew they were going to run out of food, water. They didn't have much. So at night, he would walk into the water and then swim out into the channel to try to hail a passing American ship.
Oh, wow. So
And he
they
did
were
this,
like lost. They were on an
He did
island.
this like 2 or 3 nights in a row. And it was like a mile that he swam out.
Jesus.
And he was just treading water in the dark, out there waiting for boats, trying to hail one. 3 nights in a row, no luck. Finally, he's like, all right, this isn't going well. So what they did was they managed to find a local fisherman or something who was going by in a canoe. And the fishermen, somehow they communicated and learned that there was a radio tower some miles away. And Kennedy, I think, went with that guy and carved into the husk of a coconut, SOS, like a message, a message to Morse code out to American lines where their location was and for them to get rescued. And the guy got the message to the radio tower. The Americans came and found them and rescued them. And Kennedy kept the husk of that coconut shell on his desk in the Oval Office once he became president.
That's wild, dude. I had no idea. That's so cool.
Yeah.
You love to hear about that kind of shit.
It's pretty amazing.
And it's amazing how you can miss it. You know what I mean? Like, how have I never heard that? You know? It's crazy to me.
Yeah, because
I wonder if he campaigned with that story at all.
Well, I think it was known certainly how much of a war hero he was. But dude, yeah, like proper badass, against the odds, leader, war hero.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't like even the John McCain story. I never knew till I watched the Ken Burns documentary.
It's nuts.
Which is amazing, by the way. The Ken Burns Vietnam documentary. I think it's like 9 parts or something. Yeah. It's phenomenal.
It's really good. I found it a little heavy. I just a little dense.
No, it is. It's very dense, but it's like, it's if you've ever sort of been like, I guess I don't really know the specifics about Vietnam. I just like know about it kinda, and you're interested in it. It's a good watch. It's definitely dense, but that's so crazy, dude. So
back
to the show.
And by the way, if I'm Kennedy, I'm staying on that beach until I get that movie. But point is, I'm in Arlington, second show, or maybe the first show. I think it was the second show. Telling a joke. It's a long joke. And unfortunately, I've posted a clip of this joke on Instagram, but I tell it differently now. It has the same last punchline, but I've added a lot to it. I've mixed it up. So I don't feel shame in continuing to tell it because it's amorphous. It's changed, it's evolved, and I don't think it's just total trodden ground for the audience, even if they've seen it. And most people who have seen it just play along. They're like, oh yeah, it's...
Oh, I've heard this one. I like this one.
Yeah, or like, oh, I know where this is going. And they laugh anyway.
Oh, you're going to love this one.
Yeah. I'm telling the joke. It's probably my favorite joke I've ever written. And I get to the punchline, I pause, and a girl yells out the punchline. And you could feel instantly all of the oxygen gets sucked out of the room.
Oh, yeah. It's a bummer. I hate that. Yeah, it's a terrible moment.
What do you do?
I don't know.
What are you supposed to do?
I don't know. I don't know. I probably don't handle that situation well in general. I usually like don't escalate it. I'll be like, I don't know. Or I'll pretend they didn't do that and then I'll still say it. Or something. I'm sure this situation was much more disruptive.
It was so clear, you know?
Yeah.
It's not as though the punchline has to be said in some cartoonish animated way that only I can master. It's just words. It's 3 words. And she nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, she just had it dead to rights. Like she was yelling out the answer to a trivia question at a bar, trivia bar.
It's a crazy thing to do.
That's exactly what it's like, by the way.
Right.
Like everyone's here to have a good time. We all get it. Everyone's playing by the rules. And then some spoil sport just comes in and yells
it out.
The answer to a trivia question.
Yeah, that's annoying, man. What happened?
I think I was like, why'd you do that? I was like, well, you know, come on now. That's no fun. You've ruined it. You've ruined that joke for everyone else. And I was bummed. And then that was replaced by anger. And I was like, what's your name? And she said her name was Rosie. And I said, Rosie, more like nosy, which got like a tepid, I guess we're back to your comedy show laugh. And then I said, and by nosy, I mean, and I called her a very bad name, which made people really laugh.
Oh, okay. Well,
but then I felt bad for calling her that name, you know, because maybe she just can't help herself and she's excited. You know what I mean? It's sort of like singing along to a song you like at a concert. I don't know. Right?
She was wrong, but perhaps not malicious.
But perhaps she was just like, I know this one.
I'm so excited. I love Francis.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. And then she started talking again and was like, I did my homework. I've seen these jokes.
Oh, God.
And that's when I realized that she was not a nice person. That she had known what she was doing. She was just submarining the whole thing.
She was P109ing.
Yeah. Yeah. PT109.
PT109ing.
And then I said, then I take back my take back. You are what I thought you were. And dude, I kept going. I then flipped onto autopilot a little bit where I just went back to my jokes and started pick the act back up. But I'm telling the next 5 to 10 minutes of jokes, seething under the guise of having composure. And I don't know what to do. And you know, you can't kick someone out for one error like that. But God almighty, it really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah. It's dude, audience participation is such a conflicting thing because there is no audience participation unless you are, you know,
inviting it.
Unless you're inviting it specifically, you don't participate. However, my instinct a lot of the time is to just de-escalate because usually, and this is a more extreme situation. In general, I try to be like, how can I get out of this without having it ruin the show? So whether it's somebody yelling out a punchline, somebody having too much fun. Oh yeah, that one he did. Yeah, he did that one. I love him. Yeah, he did it. Like that. Dude, that thing is terrible. But like, it's hard because that guy loves you so much. And like, you don't want to fucking,
No, you don't.
So it's just it is a tough thing. But then sometimes if they challenge you, you gotta get them. And that's not necessarily fun.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what and the other thing is that in this new era of posting clips of your stand-up to build your following and thus grow your ticket sales, it's a question of, well, if I've posted a clip of that joke, am I no longer allowed to tell that joke anymore?
Right. Is that
have I burned that?
Totally.
And that's why so many comics you see only post crowd work clips.
And it's funny, I had that thought. I mean, this is a new concept to me because for 95% of my career, I'm performing for people who have no idea who I am. So posting a joke on Instagram would never have affected that because no one knows who I am. So they'll be hearing that joke for the first time up until recently in my life, right? So, and even when I did the show in Boston, I told a joke that I had posted at one point, and as I began to tell it, I did sense that there were people in the crowd who had the reaction that we would prefer, which is like, oh, this one.
Yeah.
Which is what you want there, not, oh God.
Right.
Here we go.
I have no problem. I have no problem hearing jokes again. I've grew up listening to comedy albums, and I remember listening to them multiple times.
Which one? Is there one in particular?
Yeah, I used to listen to Raw by Eddie Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
And then all the time. And then I would listen to Lewis Black all the time.
Mitch Hedberg was the one that I listened to.
Yeah, and Seinfeld had an early stand-up album that we used to listen to in the car, and I loved hearing them again and sort of mastering the act myself, and I would laugh multiple times at the same joke. I don't know.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me.
Yeah. No, I feel you. You're right about that.
It's not like a magician doing a trick that you already know the answer to for some reason. I don't think it's like that. It's closer to hearing a song that you like again.
It's definitely closer to that than a magic trick for sure. Yeah, it's interesting, man.
So anyway, had a good time down there. I'll tell you what, man. I find myself, this is the only city that this happens in, Washington D.C., and I've talked to you about this before. But I find myself, driving around, and all of a sudden you're passing a site that is so iconic.
I know.
And you're like, that's where that is? I was driving through the Arlington Cemetery.
Oh my God, incredible.
To get to the comedy club, and I passed the incredible statue of the soldiers leaning against each other at Iwo Jima, hoisting the flag up.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of that one?
I don't know. And every time I see that, I'm like, is that even the one? Because it's so it's like such a powerful, reproduced thing,
and it's humongous.
Yeah, it's huge.
I had no idea how big it was.
The Arlington Cemetery is amazing.
The Arlington Cemetery. I said at the show, I was like, I want to be buried here more than anything.
Yeah.
How much? How many movies in North Korea would we have to make to get buried in their version of the Arlington Cemetery?
Yeah, dude, it's pretty special. It's cool. You're right, man. And there's, for me too, licking my chops, there's an endless amount of National Park Registry sites there. Endless. And there's some that have like 10 beneath their umbrella.
Right.
There's so many good ones. And yeah, I don't know. Is there any other ones that stood out to you?
No, that was because the last time I was there, which wasn't too long ago, I went to the Lincoln Memorial and I walked the mall and went to the Air and Space Museum. And, I've said this before, but my God, if you're feeling down on America and feeling like we're particularly divided and you're headed for civil war or whatever, and just like losing a little bit of faith in the Stars and Stripes, go to Washington, D.C. and sightsee.
Right.
It will bolster your sense of civic pride, your belief in our national ideals, your sense of the grandeur of the kind of founding and togetherness of this country. Because all of these are sites, certainly in DC as compared to elsewhere are all a testament to how the country was built.
Mm-hmm.
And the incredible sort of adversity that we've faced and the divisions we've come through, and I don't know, just makes you realize like, oh, we've had tougher moments than this, and we've come through them,
Totally.
and we've endured, and it's I don't know, it's very restorative. I found.
I couldn't agree more. It's great. And yeah, every corner there's something memorable.
Yeah.
A really cool, well thought out, sick monument. Or whatever. You know, it's very solid.
Cool city, great city, really hot.
Yeah, it's a tough time of year though. There's a tennis tournament there that starts, I believe, this week actually. Maybe next week. I think next week. The City Open, and it's just like the hottest fucking tournament of the year.
God almighty.
It's like a really tough playing conditions.
I can't even imagine.
They start the matches later in the day, I think, because of it. I think they start like 4:00.
It seems downright unsafe.
I know. So hot, so humid.
Yeah.
Tough.
All right. What else you got going on?
Well, dude, one thing I wanted to say that I think was interesting at my show, the guys who I brought with me were like so impressed by how nice the group of people at the show were.
Yeah.
And that's
we have really nice fans.
That's a really nice thing. What a nice thing that is.
Yeah.
You know, you can hang out after the show. It's like chilling with a big group of pals. It's not weird at all.
They're like-minded and professional landed people.
They have good manners. They have good social skills.
A lot of our fans are couples, you know? I think
couples.
people in good relationships, good ideals,
Yeah.
fine citizens.
Just fine citizens. You know what I mean? And it's a nice thing. It's a great thing. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fun, man.
Whereas your buddies are accustomed to doing shows for mongrels,
I mean,
urchins.
Like I think just hearing their reaction just reminded me that it's not necessarily the case for everybody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice. And you hear these stories about performers just doing their thing and not liking their fans. And like, that just sounds shitty to me.
Yikes.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, oh, he was known for this and he hated it type of thing. Which is a nice thing about doing stand-up, doing a podcast. It's like, you are really being yourself as opposed to like, you know, if I get cast as Highlander and now everybody wants me to be Highlander.
Yeah.
Do that thing, Highlander. Oh man, that was awesome. Like that must get old eventually.
Showing up at Comic-Cons.
Yeah, you show up and dressed in a cloak.
Yeah.
And you're signing autographs and like speaking in the fake language. Like that's so shitty, dude. You know what I mean?
Saying a tagline. I'm glad we don't have some sort of podcast convention where we have to set up a booth and fans wander around some big expo center and, you know, go from their favorite podcast to favorite podcast.
Dude, careful, bro. That could totally become a thing.
I know.
The pod convention, 75 live pods happening at once. That sounds fucking crazy, dude. Man, yeah. So it's good. Dude, so actually I thought of something before. When you were talking about the story about the woods, about the trees and the invasive species and stuff, I don't know if this is connected, but I've heard this. I've heard that like if there are two trees standing there next to each other, if one tree becomes infested with some sort of invasive species or some tree disease or whatever, it will sort of, in its own tree way, tell the tree next to it, I've been breached.
I'm sick.
And the tree next to it will like up its immune system and it will not get preyed upon.
No way.
Yeah. Trees communicate.
Wow.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
Sounds like something out of,
Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, I was going to say what's the one that James Cameron did?
Avatar.
Yeah, it's like an Avatar thing.
Wild, dude.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Also,
Chris
it's
has got some
happening
tree facts.
right now in New York City. It's like fall again wherever their trees are because it's so hot out that the trees are shedding their like lower layers so that it requires less water for the trees to survive.
Interesting.
So that's why there's leaves everywhere.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Wild, dude.
Yeah, we came home and our plants are just
Struggling?
dying, man. They're not happy. It makes me sad.
Dude, I have one plant and I love that fucking thing. Dude.
Love it.
I love him.
Weird thing. I love I love our plants.
I love our plants. Like we call him the plant boy.
Your plant is called the plant boy?
Yeah. Yes. And he literally texted me, "Did you feed the plant boy?" And I'll say yes. And then we'll be sitting on the couch and I'll look at him and I'll go, dude, look at that boy. He's a good boy, that plant boy.
It's so funny because all of our plants are feminine.
Really?
Yeah, she needs some water.
I like that.
It's like they're like boats. Boats are always feminine for some
Boats
reason.
are always she.
Yeah. And you got male plants.
Yeah, the plant boy.
Plants just constantly whipping their dicks out and lifting weights.
Dude, the plant boy is very well fed and he's beginning to grow leaves that we had never seen before.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool. I want
Yeah.
to set up a time-lapse camera on him.
Ah.
He's starting to grow maybe too big for his britches. We're going to have to figure out what
We
to
should do a plant play date.
That would
Your
be
boy
fun.
and our girl.
They do say that plants do well when they're talked to.
You got all
that true?
these you got all these facts about plants.
I pulled that out of my ass. That might just be like an orchid thing.
Yeah, it
They
sounds
say
like something you're citing from a Dr. Seuss poem. These are childhood plant facts.
The plant boy, dude.
Plants talk to each other. It's like the giving tree or something. I don't know. Someone needs to fact check. Ryan, we're gonna need some facts about all these weird communicative properties of plants. From Julio.
Dude, I went to order breakfast today, and I walked to the counter, and there was a woman there who usually works at the register, and there's usually a guy at the counter who makes the food, and I order it from him. So I stood there for a second. She goes, "What do you need?" And I was like, "I'm just waiting for the guy."
Oh.
And she goes, "I'm the guy,"
Wow.
meaning like, I know what you mean, but today I am filling that role. And I was like, I didn't mean it like that. I was like,
You're not the plant boy. I didn't mean that you're the plant boy.
So I'm like, no, like I just, he's always here. I didn't mean like I didn't think you could do it. Obviously, I know. I didn't say that like only a man can make the food. It's food. Like anybody can make food. And she was like, I know what you meant.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
I am fine with that
She was cool about it.
because she didn't die on her sword.
Yeah.
She didn't martyr herself for your accidental, statement, which is fine because most people can discern when someone is being I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you are just being an idiot or
The
an
difference
asshole.
between like, oh, no, I'm just waiting for the person that I typically talk to
Yes.
I'm waiting for a man to fulfill the job. I don't want someone like you
That only a man could do.
who's incapable of handing me my sandwich. Yeah.
Dude, that's so funny.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you something.
Mhm.
Do you spend a lot of time in the car with Hill Dog?
Yeah, we do really well in the car, except when we're going to the Hamptons. We get no fight every time we go to the Hamptons, including this weekend.
Now, what starts those fights?
I think it's like a thing where we are not fully in control of our own destiny. We're just staying with people and differences in how we want the weekend to go, what we want to do. It just kind of like creates anxiety that turns into us bickering, and we'll joke about it. Like we'll be in the midst of our fight, and it's typically on the way there that the fight begins, regardless of our mode of transportation. We had a car this weekend. It was great. But we and then we'll be like, this is our fight, which usually de-escalates it a bit.
That's good.
And her sister was there, house sitting, and I was staying with who I usually stay with. And I just assumed she was staying with me, but she had planned to stay with her sister on Thursday, and I hadn't seen her much, and I became very sensitive and needy immediately. The same way I might when we're discussing my upcoming death and placing a photo of myself over the bed. I was like, what do you mean you're not staying with me tonight? So I like turned it into this whole thing, and then like, whatever. But otherwise we do very well in the car.
Okay, good. Yeah, we have spent so much time in the car lately, just an inordinate amount of time. And I think a car ride can be both a stress cooker, but also a peaceful time. And a lot of it depends. So for us, the tricky part is always, the start is always hard because I care so much about beating traffic, getting out of the house at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And invariably we don't,
Mm-hmm.
especially if we're going somewhere for a sizable amount of time. There's difficult things that need to be put in order, making sure Kojai is squared away, packing all of this. And, it just the pushing off from the dock is a stressful moment. And if we don't push off correctly, we're starting off on the wrong foot.
How does she do with not leaving at the optimal time? And
I am never the problem.
Wait, I thought you said you're the one who cares about it.
I care.
But she cares more?
No, I care, and I'm in the car at the right time, and she is.
Gotcha. No, but so my point being, not whether or not who is the person who stops you from leaving at the right time. How does she deal with being on the road, stuck in traffic? Does she care?
You're saying once we're out there?
Once you failed to leave at the proper time.
Yeah.
How does she handle that?
For the record, she wouldn't be stressed about that if not for me being grouchy about it.
Right. So then you are in a bad mood, which then makes her in a bad mood.
And the reason I'm in a bad mood is because I do the lion's share of the driving.
Okay.
By the way, when you and Hill Dog drive, how do you do it?
I drive 99.5% of the time.
Same.
The 0.5% of the time where I did not drive, she drove in Arizona for an hour and a half. Immediately after she started driving, a guy passed us and flipped her off, and she went, That's virtually the only time she's ever driven when we drive. She's a competent driver, but I just don't mind driving.
Yeah, I don't either.
And I just end up driving.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you always drive?
Yeah. Pretty much. When we go to Maine, she'll take an hour and a half in the middle, and then I'll finish us off. I
got to be honest. Growing up, I always found it shocking and weird when my friends' parents would roll up and the mom was the driver. I know that that's not right, but I've always been sus about that, dude.
Look
I've been
at
like,
little
what's going
antiquated views, Julio. Yeah,
should be a man driving that car.
That's
God damn
right.
it!
I'm not going to soccer practice with your mom behind the wheel.
Yeah,
you out of your mind? Find a man to drive us that 12 minutes to the park.
So Hillary says, and I don't know, and I'm not trying to fucking virtue signal. I don't know if this would even count as virtue signal or toot my own horn, but she says that I do really well in transit. So that's
good.
And I think I would typically agree with that. I don't mind being in the car.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
We do pretty well in the car. I was going to say we do well in the car. I would say some of our bigger arguments also tend to happen in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But we reconcile because there's just so much time and you're in the same cabin together and you have to.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out. But then, we get to our place. You had a question that I can't remember what it was.
Oh, it was about, how does Sierra handle, just like a dense travel day? If like you're going 80 miles and for some reason that's going to take 2.5 hours, like how does that feel for her? What is it? I think that was the question.
Yeah, so she's pretty good. She's definitely our soothing presence in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. But here's something, dude, that I realized, which is we don't really listen to music that often.
Okay.
We just talk the whole time, which I think is
nice.
good.
That's nice.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it means we can just pass a lot of time just talking to each other. And then I get to the reality of relationships, which maybe I've said this before, but if people are, wondering, how do I know if I've found the one? I think that what I've stumbled upon is, who is the person that you can spend all of the time with and not be sick of it?
Meaning like for partner selection?
Just so endless time.
Yeah.
Endless time. Day in, day out. And it doesn't drag, and it's not boring or annoying. And it doesn't have to be sparks flying necessarily in each thought that you share with each other. But just gentle passing of the time, hour after hour on the road or night after night, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just enjoy that person's company forever.
Yeah.
For just this endless highway of conversation. That's a really good sign that you found a wonderful person to spend your life with.
Agreed.
That's
dude.
how I
yeah,
feel.
That's nice. It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Chopping it up,
Mm-hmm.
with your
Mhm.
pal and lover.
Yeah. Sierra's gotten really funny. Hillary's always been funny. Sierra's gotten funnier. I'm going to take some credit for it. She cracks jokes now the way that a comedian does.
She's got some
She
singers.
tags things. She adds these things.
Yeah, I see
And
it.
then when I laugh and I tell her that was funny, that is better. That makes her feel better than if I tell her she's like beautiful
Nice.
or successful or that I respect her. She's like, that means the most to me.
That's really nice, dude. She's had a couple of good puns.
She's funny.
That you told me about.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
It's great.
You just love to
Coming
see
along. Work in progress.
it. Love to see it.
Next thing you know, she'll be doing open mics and then we'll break up. That'll be the end of that.
That'll be that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we bring her home, why don't we tap our pal over here in the corner for some facts with Ryan?
Are they lying? Are they lying? Facts with Ryan. Are they lying?
All right, so
That's fucking good.
we covered a lot today.
We did.
Let's start from the top. $1 US is worth 79.8 rupees. So you can get a maid or a chef, I think, for much cheaper out there.
Nice.
Love it.
North Korea, the documentary, Julio, you were talking about was called Crossing the Line.
Yes.
2006. You can rent it on Amazon for $2.99. One of the Americans that became an actor in North Korea was Charles Robert Jenkins. He starred in a film titled 5 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Wow.
Okay. remember
The
that
Citadel is in Charleston, South Carolina.
Got it.
Car temperatures. Cars actually have a thermistor in them, so they're not completely accurate because they calculate the temperature based off of the re-radiated heat from road surface.
Got it.
Okay.
Wow.
JFK, just a fun fact, his grandfather was Patrick Joseph Kennedy. He's a senator in Massachusetts.
Oh, well.
Iwo Jima statue was the victory flag statue.
Okay.
Trees do communicate. They do send distress signals to one another if they're being attacked by bacteria, insects, anything like that. They do communicate.
Crazy.
And then for talking to plants, a study has shown that talking to your plants can really help them grow faster. They also found that plants grow faster to the sound of a female voice instead of over the sound of a male voice. They also like music.
All right. Next time I'll be like, hey, little girl. I'm a planting. Oh, yeah.
Ryan, thank you. Very comprehensive and thorough,
Yeah.
as always. Cool. Yeah. What do you say we take her home?
Take it home. Take me home, country road. What do we got? You got anything coming up?
No, I'm in New Orleans on August 20th. I think Laugh House is what it's called.
Nice.
I forget the name. Something involving laugh. It's on my website. Then I have some fun stuff coming up in the fall too. What about you?
That's great. I definitely have some things coming up. Let's see here. I have on August 4th, I've got Jersey City, and August 10th, I'm in Red Bank, New Jersey. Both times with Little Sass from Barstool Sports. Tickets for that are available at francisellis.com. And thank you guys for listening to Oops the Podcast. We'll be back on Thursday.